Well, The Barbarian Nurseries is a novel I conceived when I was an MFA student in the mid-1990s about the anti-immigrant moment in California. I wrote an initial version of it called Farewell California that failed miserably. I took up the book again 5 or 6 years later, spent another 5 or 6 years working on it, and eventually sold it to FSG. And the book came out on the day that my son turned 15 years old, about 15 years old. And I had finished the first draft of that book on the day that his mother went into labor with him. So that's basically how long the gestation was of that book. It was 15 years. So it's very odd to me that this book that I had in my drawer as the biggest failure of my writing career has now gone on to have this life where I think people see a little bit of California reflected in it.
And what changed?
I became a parent. I became a family member. I was an only child when I wrote the first version of that book. I was not married. I had just recently been married. I didn't have any kids. And in between the first failure of that book and the success of the final version, I had 3 kids. Raised one of them all the way to his teenage years, and learned a lot about family. And in the end, the novel, which I had conceived of as this political novel about a woman who's charged with a crime, an immigrant woman who's charged with a crime, and a story that would speak to the political realities and the social divisions of modern California, ended up being not just about that, but also being about American family, American middle-class family, a well-off family. And the family in the book is a very much reflection of my own, the way in which we attempt to purchase comfort, purchase goodness for our children. That's something that I think definitely, those of us who have some means, we attempt to do that as Americans, and that the novel ended up becoming about that. That's what changed about it.
And now the new one is, again, as a nonfiction novel.
Yes.
So tell us about that.
Yes, I'm currently writing a nonfiction novel for FSG, which is due in a few months, and which I have been immersed myself in the story for a couple of years now. And it's the story of the Chilean miners who were trapped for 69 days in a mine. And they have granted me exclusive access to their story. It's a very complicated sort of legal agreement between myself and the miners involving lawyers in Santiago, Chile, and New York. But it's an absolute dream assignment because I've been tasked with taking this story that almost everybody knows on the planet and telling the sort of the true saga, the odyssey of it. And to me, when I met the miners, I told them, because I met them in Chile a couple of years ago, and I told them that to me, this is the great modern adventure story of our time. It's like the Odyssey, and my job is to be your Homer.
And you know the Zaytoun controversy?
Oh, yes.
You
Yes.
spent a number of hours talking to these miners.
Yes.
What are the chances that you've got them wrong?
Wow. I think that, well, I'm very fortunate in that I have 33 different perspectives. And I have also men who are divided into camps who don't really agree with each other about what the truth is. So I think that it's my job to have as much empathy with each individual as I can. But I have the understanding that I'm doing a collective truth. Kind of a novelist truth, you know. I am the omniscient narrator. In fact, I would say that there are things that some guys know that other guys don't know. There's some things that happen to 2 or 3 guys that the other 31 guys don't know about, and back and forth. And so I'm very privileged. The main tension in this kind of work is that your desire to create something pretty or something orderly will take you down a road that is not the right road, that's the wrong road. I know that this book will be read by these men, and that is in my head every day. I know that some of them won't like the characterizations of what they see in the book, but that is most likely the function of the fact that there's 7 or 8 other guys who think that they were a coward, right? Or who didn't agree with what they did in one particular moment, you know, in the story. So yes, I think that it's a process of constantly questioning myself, about what do I really know here? What am I assuming? I know, you know, and also when you interview people, people are self-serving sometimes. People can be maybe not necessarily deceptive, but people try to sort of, you know, to make themselves look in the best light. And so there's all of these different things at work. But there are some very powerful emotional truths in the story that I think shine through and that are there waiting for someone to put them on the page, which is sort of like what my job is. Yeah.